Do you ever catch yourself overreacting to a situation, becoming angry or emotional about something that doesn't really warrant that kind of a response? And in real time, you're wondering, why is this such a big deal? Tell you what's going on there is we have, as humans, a brain that has evolved to survive in a barbaric environment, an environment where we could be killed at any moment, where we have to catch prey, avoid predators, or fight them. That brain is not evolved to deal with the situations we find in modern society, but it's the only mechanism we have. That fight or flight response we get when we start dumping adrenaline and cortisol into our systems because something's going sideways at work is inappropriate completely for the situation at hand, but it's all we have as humans to deal with that kind of situation, with the exception of our logical thinking. Now, most of us grew up without the training we need to insert logic before the emotional reaction happens, before that evolutionary brain kicks in. We're already inserting logic so we can stop that reaction from happening at all. Most of us have to learn that as adults, at least I did. And I didn't learn it as a young adult. I was hot-headed and I would let situations get the better of me more often than not because I didn't have the understanding of how the brain worked, of what was actually going on. And I felt totally justified for being angry when something happened at work or at home that agitated me. I let that agitation become a reaction. What your brain does in that situation, you start dumping those fight or flight chemicals. And you also start finding information to prove you're right, to prove your point. In that way, you're feeding that beast, that evolutionary brain. You get more of the cortisol, you get more of the norepinephrine, and you're ready to fight, but you don't have an enemy that you can slap around. So it's misused. The way to avoid that is to realize that when something happens, you have a moment in time. I used to call it a nanosecond, but that's not a correct thing to call it. But it's a moment in time where you can insert logic and not control a reaction. You keep the reaction from happening. You don't get the flight or fight reaction. You actually use logic to assess what's going on, what's the action I need to take, and how do I need to respond to this. You'll find that it's very, very rare that any kind of anger or any kind of panic is the appropriate reaction. Hope this helps.